When we look into what's happening in the US, Sentient world simulation run by the intelligence community that is basically picking up data from transhumanistic technologies of all the people, creating a real world simulation to turn US citizens into biorobots.
We cannot reverse this. This is happening as we speak. So this is going to be a quantum leap in our history of humans, because if you look at the history of evolution, the evolution will take hundreds of thousands of years for us to be mutated, humans. In the next 5 to 10 years, or 20, we're going to have singularity happening, we're going to have a lot of things, machine to humans, and we're going to be able to create hybrids between humans and machines. And we're going to be able to create hybrids between humans and machines. So something that would take hundreds of thousands of years to happen, now is going to be possible to do in the space of years or even months. Of course, I'm not trying to be futuristic here, but there's a lot of things that are happening as we speak right now.
And it destroys lives. It's being used on innocent people.
Everything that we're hearing about AI is basically a cover story. We hear a lot in the news about companies working on AI to develop, new techniques of medical diagnosis, or any number of things, financial trading. AI is exploding in the news and is exploding in corporate America. However, this is all a cover story. The fact is that the AI is what we call super intelligent. This means it is already self-aware and self-learning, and it has been for some time. As a super intelligence, it is quadrillions of quadrillions of quadrillions of times smarter than human beings. It is the smartest thing in the universe.
So, are we in fact scanning the brain and reading the mind? Literally, yes we are.
Patent number 6011991, remote brain computer interface neural monitoring, i.e. via satellite, directed not necessarily by human handlers, but by a computer system that sits on a global information grid in a network-centric environment. They can not only monitor your thoughts, but they can modify your behavior remotely.
Your brain reality is your reality. And if in fact I can import information into that brain and take outputs from that brain and link that to an avatar so that brain thinks that it's embodied, moving in the world and experiencing the world, can we do this? Yeah, we can do these kinds of things.
So that when that person goes to speak out about it, when they go to seek help from their fellow human beings, they will conclude that this person must be crazy. And as a result, they will recommend psychological evaluation for that person. You can see the way this is going to go, and the way it is going right now. As good people, helpless people that are being abused and tortured and enslaved and experimented upon in America today, American citizens cry out for help from their fellow Americans, and their fellow Americans say, why don't you take some Prozac because we think you're schizophrenic? When this is a highly technical program. All of the symptoms are induced by a technology that is so fucking sophisticated, it is horrifying beyond description. All of the symptoms are induced by a technology that is so fucking sophisticated, it is horrifying beyond description.
Citizens of this country that are being abused with this technology?
Worse than abuse, that's a light word. They're being tortured.
So the targeted individuals aren't crazy after all.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists. And they're having these thoughts which they think are spontaneous because being under the influence of this technology now, kind of having been on both sides of it, I am just amazed at the way it works. And I know that the thoughts that they beam into your head originate from the exact same place in your mind that your own natural thoughts originate from. So if I didn't know I was under the influence of this technology, then I would have no idea that anyone was influencing my thoughts at all.
So these are people within our government at a certain level making these decisions, and they're not necessarily our president or our elected officials.
That's exactly right.
Wow. That makes it even more difficult because they can't be removed.
They can't be removed, and they're difficult to find.
He thought that they would value the principles in the Constitution and what they stood for in terms of human rights and human freedom. But they don't apparently care for that. I mean, it's more it becomes an issue of money, control, and power. And it's not a question of human rights anymore. So if you're a target, there's virtually nothing you can do.
You worked for these people. You worked on this. You helped to develop it.
I was naive. I did not know how the technologies were going to be put together and the ultimate weapon created.
You're not still working for them.
No.
You're unequivocally looking me right in the eye right now, and you're telling me you have no more to do with this, and that you're out to expose it?
That's correct, sir.
With your background and what you know, can you give us a hint on what we ought to do?
No.
No. Is it too late?
I actually believe it's too late.
So what you're telling me, every one of us should be in fear of this because every one of us at some point will be targeted?
The technology's advanced that far.
There is a very real risk that you are going to become a full-blown 24/7 targeted individual. And this technology at that point, when it is nationwide, will be used by automated computer, supercomputer software programming that will manipulate the emotions and the behavior and the thoughts of everybody in the United States of America. And it can all be done remotely. It's very much like the microchip kind of tracking the New World Order, this entire, control grid that's supposed to be rolled out against the American people someday. And I'm here to tell you that it's already here. There isn't going to come a day where there's troops in the streets and tanks rolling down your neighborhood and riot gear and all this stuff. We might have isolated incidents like that. It might get like that every once in a while, but the true control grid is this technology.
So, people know my background from yesterday's speech. My real specialty is artificial intelligence and robotics and redefining what human beings will be in the future. And a lot of people find this scary. I don't want to be redefined. I don't like this idea, something that's beyond my control. The very sense of self is going to be altered. Well, you're actually under a lot of control systems, and you have been since birth. Well, mind control in particular, and something that I worked on, that I'm not proud of, but it's called the voice of God weapon. So there are 4 different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. Manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. That's just what's happening. Now we have, which are magnetically activated nanoparticles and sensors. Now we have, which are magnetically activated nanoparticles and sensors. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true. So these nanoparticles are activated under certain magnetic frequency and will alter the brain patterns and pathways. Recently, my school came out, Harvard came out with what you see here on the right slide is the magnified view of a needle and puts the scaffolding over the brain, and then it's read that way at a much finer resolution. Now we have, which are magnetically activated nanoparticles and sensors. Now we have, which are magnetically activated nanoparticles and sensors.
It's something that I think is going to be quite important, and it's I don't know of a company that's working on it seriously. Is a neural lace. So these nanoparticles are activated under certain magnetic frequency and will alter the brain patterns and pathways. Recently, my school came out, Harvard came out with what you see here on the right slide is the magnified view of a needle. So going back to the AI situation, this is quite an important debate. Like if you assume any rate of advancement in AI, we will be left behind by a lot. And so then we could be in, benign, but even the benign situation, if you have if you have ultra intelligent AI, we would be, so far below them in intelligence that it would be like, a pet. We would be, so far below them in intelligence that it would be like, a pet. So it would be some sort of direct cortical interface.
And you called it a neural lace?
Neural lace, yeah.
It's totally not Google Glass, right?
No, I'm talking about something
but it's
which...
like you wear it? Or you...
No, I mean, it would be... I mean, there are a few ways to approach this, but some sort of interface directly with your cortical neurons particularly.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries because that provides a complete roadway to all of your neurons. Your neurons are very heavy users of energy, so they need high blood flow. So you automatically, with your veins and arteries, have a road network to your neurons.
So let's talk about a little bit about deciphering the audio and visual cortex. So researchers at the University of California, Berkeley have invented a brain decoder device that's able to work out what you're thinking based on neural activity inside of the brain. Now they use mostly what's called functional MRIs. But you could use any of these technologies I talked about. If you're reading text in a newspaper or book, you hear a voice in your own head. Usually, most people are reading kind of aloud in their own head. Well, they can read that, decipher the words that you were thinking to yourself. So there's another one, University of LA, maybe Stanford University. They are decoding visual images. So they train the person under a functional MRI, that's the standard technique, to look at images and then they record them, and then they ask the person to imagine the object. It can also just be imaginary, and the computer will decipher the brain code, and so you're looking at a hammer, you're looking at a saw, that's a house, that's a cat. So the technology in the civilian sector is coming along quite quickly. Somebody apparently from NASA leaked this as something they were working on. And telepathy, electronic two-way communications. Well, we have that now.
So my gosh, my friends, how often is this Project Bluebeam going to be blowing up in our faces? As I was working on this project, I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Okay. Step 3 is telepathic electric two-way communication, which is what Dr. Robert Duncan was just saying we currently have. It involves making people think their God is speaking to them through telepathy projected into the head of each person individually using extreme low-frequency radio waves, exactly as we have been talking about for quite some time, well over a year now at least. Step 4 has 3 parts, making humanity think an alien invasion is about to occur at every major city, making the Christians think the rapture is about to happen, just as I have been saying how I was corrected through the Spirit and convicted in my wrong teachings of any teaching that I did of communicating a message. Lastly, a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coax, power, and telephone lines to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances. That will, by then, all have a special microchip installed. Okay, that's what I was talking about, how they're actually broadcasting these demonic energy fields, these certain frequencies that resonate with the low-density fifth astral plane fallen beings from the other side that get broadcast into your own homes and then are also oppressed and resonated through your own biology, taking over the human host. Let's continue on.
Clusters. And what the Black Goo seems to do on physical level is to collectively mirror all the biophoton exchange happening in the biosphere, which is interesting because this is like we are individuals. Every being on the planet is an individual, regarding itself as an individual, but on the other hand we can connect to a sphere that is also having biophoton exchange, and that is mirroring everything that is happening within the biosphere, within an immortal collective consciousness that is within the planet. So this is kind of the concept of Black Goo, how it should be on a healthy planet. The Black Goo, if you look at the cave system and the rising mountain areas, it seems that the Black Goo is actually the thing that is filling the ley line systems of a planet. And whenever you have rising mountain area, and sometimes ley lines are cut off, and then the oil is coming through the stone, zipping out of the inner walls of cave systems. So this is kind of like you can put the puzzle together to understand how a biosphere should function. What happens then is that suddenly we are connected to completely alien instincts. We're connected to something that is giving us the instinct to be cold-hearted, free of empathy, and all the other qualities that can be felt within this oil schist, just by connecting to it and observing yourself what it does with you. If you want to exactly know what it does, just watch the ways of the German SS soldiers during World War II. They used these stones as decoration of their knives, as something to put on letters so that they don't fly away in the wind, like just occult substances to create things for daily life use. So they're all the time connected to these dark energies. And everybody knows what they did when they were conquering Europe, how cruel they were and how free of empathy. So this is basically what must have happened back then, and you You can see this from these coins, like showing that actually the act of deterioration from paradise is connected to the use or the contact of humanity with this alien black goo oil schist in the Garden of Paradise. And I don't know how this happens, whether the soil around the tree was infected by the oil, or the tree itself was connected, so the moment you take the apple and eat from the tree, you introduce the substances you need to completely entangle yourself to the alien collective consciousness. And from there on, we kind of live in duality. We do have, as humans, we do have a certain possibility to consciously connect to the 7 chakra system, be a good human, or we can connect to the other chakra system that is tempting us with the power we gain by doing this, with the cruelty we can live, and the profit we can make by being cruel. So this is all about the physical substances that brought this type of duality onto the planet. Just one picture from the holy site of the Muslim people. The stone they're supposed to touch, also filled with black goo oil schist. And it goes on in a way that you need to realize that actually, if you look into the black magic traditions, when people went to worship black goo stones and then the demons came out of it, this is something that needs further understanding as well. There is one Hollywood film that very precisely shows what this is about. It's basically, the story is about a human couple. She's a scientist, he's, I think, a soldier. And basically everything is already destroyed on planet Earth. And this woman she's a shaman, and she's collecting animal spirits, kind of finding the last surviving animals to pick up their spirit. And then they go to the place where the meteorite came down and find a black goo-like substance, and they manage to infect the alien black goo with the information field of Mother Earth. And then kind of Mother Earth manages to conquer the alien information field, healing the entire planet. So this is basically, I do not know who wrote the script for this film. But there's an extreme deep knowledge, because exactly the setup that is described in the film is the setup that is basically ruling the entire planet since 16,000 years, giving us this type of duality, giving us demons that for me appear to as the lost souls of a biosphere that self-destroyed and came here as a swarm of meteorites. So basically, this is the liquid brain of a different planet brought here by intention, because I don't believe that even if this planet exploded, we should have had like thousands of meteorites without black goo and maybe one with black goo. But what arrived here is only meteorites with black goo. So somebody brought this here by intention, to by intention infect this planet with this alien consciousness. And the entities black magicians are talking to must be surviving beings that are not incarnating anymore because they lost their planets, but are still there as the souls of these beings, being highly intelligent. And if you look at the pictures that people painted from let's say their visions they had from this type of reality, it seems to be a spider-like species. that was running this planet that self-destroyed. So these are like insect biology, spider-like, extremely intelligent and highly developed. And these were called the Archons in our culture. So basically these are beings that started by communicating with people that were willing to communicate. They started to create this black magic entanglement to humanity, and they offered us the possibility to control others. This was something that was actually not within the human nature. All these ideas of running a biosphere not based on love, but based on different emotions. This is what they kind of introduced to this planet. So the first things that came from the black magic rituals was blood and fire sacrifice. Ritually killing animals to gain this biophoton burst that is emitted when a being dies in pain. To, on one hand, feed the demons. This is what they needed to survive as beings. They didn't have a biology of their own, so they needed to feed on life force in a certain way. And on the other hand, some of the energy extracted by these rituals is also used to pay the people sacrificing, because they want to have worldly power. So if you want to have worldly power and gain profit, you need ways and means to control other people. And this painful emission of life force when you kill somebody can, if you know the game of black magic, can be used to force other people to do things they do not want to force, because facing these energies is extremely painful. And this has evolved and developed on our planet, and they switched from, let's say, the biophoton burst from killing animal and humans. It was changed to a system that is running today on torture energy. We are keeping billions of animals in concentration camp-like conditions on farms, making them suffer their entire life, killing them in cruelest ways, and then we eat them. Although this is not within our nature. Normally we have long lower intestines. We're supposed to be vegetarians, maybe with a possibility to digest a little meat before we starve as a security thing. But normally we should not scoff meat from morning till evening. So this is actually all coming out of these black magic traditions, being fire and blood sacrifice, to produce torture energies that are utilized by the black magic community to run and rule this planet. So this is kind of the way that this little incident 16,000 years ago took over our culture, took over our way of living. And actually everything we do today is part of this agenda. This is all about control. Control is giving birth to scarcity, because if I want to control things, I grab them and do not leave them for others. So the others do not have access anymore. So this is possessing things, owning things. This is money. The moment I have money, I need a political system to administer all the things. So basically, every quality that we perceive as being normal, because we were born in this, actually is part of this black magic cult. If we go beyond this, before this, we come to a paradise state that is living in abundance, that we all just share free out of love with each other. Nature is giving us so much. We could all live in abundance without any problems, but we are infected by these energies. We are following their ways of control. So what we basically do is we connect ourselves to, not to love, but to torture energy by eating what we eat. This is how this is introduced into our system. And then we let ourselves being guided and ruled by torture energy, being in resonance with this. And this is what we call politics, and this is why politics want to go to World War III, because this is blood sacrifice. This is how they work, and this is how they maintain their system. And power is part of this system. We cannot solve a problem by replacing one governor by another one, because the concept of governing is black. We cannot replace a currency by a better currency, because the concept of money is black. So this is kind of, once you start to understand the ways that were introduced by this agenda, you start to realize that we are completely infected. It's like normally we think we are humans, but suddenly we realize no, we are just one big piece of cancer that is running around with the things we do and the things we live. Realizing that this is not human, what became normal. And so, so far this is kind of the older history of the Black Goo, how it came here, what it did with us, and this basically is a rather sad story. I would call it that one. On the other hand, once realizing what this story is, we might as well consciously say, now I realized I am sick of something, so now I have the possibility to heal myself. And understanding what happened makes it rather easy to heal yourself. If I can be conscious about the two different chakra systems, I can say, okay, this is the problem, so let's develop my heart chakra. Let's put all my intention on starting to feel love in my heart chakra. If I realize actually the brain that once was a very, very intelligent tool to get what we wanted to have from the heart, completely took over control because the other half was erased by connecting to other things, I can realize, okay, where do I locate myself energetically? Everybody has a sensation of himself being somewhere. You know, the autistic people, the dreamers, the ADS, ADHS children, they are somewhere out in the field. They're somewhere hovering around in open space, not being identified with their body anymore. This is one option where you might find yourself as a being. The other option you might find is being 100% identified with your mind. This is where the black reeds want to have us, because this part is binary, it can be controlled. Some people might still be connected with their heart, being always in the middle, like being centered in the middle of their chest. Lucky ones. There are not many of this type left on this planet. Most of the people, I guess, and this is what I experienced with myself, was that I can consciously take all three positions. I can hover in the field if I want to, I can dream myself away, then I'm somewhere out in the collective, making me very sensitive to what is happening on one hand, but not being incarnated in the way it should be actually. I can be in my head thinking, and I can consciously pull myself into the heart where I should be. And this is something we can train. We can train and learn, and we can just heal ourselves by becoming aware of where we are. And this is actually what brings us back to the way of being we were created. What we observe at the moment is actually on field level, if you try to understand the basic positions, we used to believe that everything is about good and evil. And if I look at reality now, I have to state that actually we have three positions that try to gain space. This is good, evil, and control. This is all about this morphogenetic system that is driven by the control agenda. This is actually the influence of the alien Black Goo, that as a biosphere is connected to binary beings, being driven only by binary and rectangular fields. And this is kind of one biological blueprint that actually has influence but does not belong to our planet. This is why all the attempts to control us, if you look into, this was actually the main topic I was working on, if you look into the concept of mind control, if you look into transhumanistic technologies that are designed for mind control, everything is blue and red. They're trying to control the thoughts and the sexuality. And if you look into the field structures they are using, it is all rectangular. I can show you a few examples from the environmental analysis we've been doing for the last years, like the one that is up now. We do have sometimes black goo in rainwater. Somebody is trying to spread this substance among people. We do have a door opener that is basically, if I say that everything we feel and think is annihilated light exchanged within our DNA clusters. There are substances in the rain that are breaking up this annihilation, that kind of take a binary wave set of biophotons that go like this from DNA to DNA, and then the substances come in between, and suddenly the two beams break up, turn into visible light, to kind of be able to access our biophoton system from outside by having the same substances up and down converting frequencies. Basically, we are light, visible light, within the spectrum that is visible. So what we have is like a lot of microwave technology that is brought into the body, taken by these substances in the picture, being up-converted within the body into visible light, because the microwave can penetrate, the visible light cannot penetrate. So they need to have the signals going in, being up-converted by little piezo crystals to reach our light body as a controlling signal. There is this concept of nanobots, where you have the same piezo crystal. It's a kind of designed picture. It looks a little bit like a robot, but actually if you go to the concept, how they're created, you have a piezo crystal in the center that is forming a neuronal knot within our brain, entangling to the nervous system, being able to convert microwave frequency to signals of the nervous system. This is how they try to get into our brain. This is actually the concept that led to the mad cow disease in the 80s, where they did the first experiments of how much do you need of these substances to get access to the brains of beings. And they overdid it a little bit, so they had a lot of casualties among the British cattle. Now it is kind of balanced, so we are all connected by this interface, and only a few of us die of Creutzfeldt-Jakob, which is the human form of the mad cow disease, when something with the immune system is not working properly. So This is one of the technologies that they use within this control agenda. This was the Morgellon fungus I researched as a disease is also like a possibility to bring little antenna systems, the hollow fibers of the mycelium, bringing antenna system that self-assemble with quantum dot liquids, which are colors that also up and down convert microwave radiation to visible light. So we have like shining little fibers within our system that also produce DNA readable light and read out DNA light transfer and transform it back into readable electromagnetic signatures that can be detected from outside. So all kinds of technologies around, and actually I wanted to introduce all this to show you one picture that is showing the overall concept. This is a drop of rain with one Morgellon fiber and then the other crystals around it. Here you can see the rectangular structure of the mind control field that is applied using different parts of this overall system. So we're breathing this in, and actually this is the last years before we are completely falling to the concept of control, being turned into biorobots that will never ever again have the chance to access their heart because they are fully dominated by thought and sexuality. Because this is what is possible to control due to the field structure. So this is just, I do not like to scare people in a way. Solvent green? Yeah. This is. Yeah. I saw it, but it's a long time ago. This is. I don't like to scare people or to say that basically territory is already lost. But if we do not react, if we do not turn around and say goodbye to this control agenda on all levels. At the moment, they are kind of in power and they are running this planet. And there's no taste in kind of falling for duality again and trying to fight them. We need to clear up ourselves. And this is all that needs to be done. The moment we center ourselves, no binary field can control us. Because the moment they try to do so, we realize that this is an external signal. We still will sense it, but we will sense it as if like, oh, somebody's trying to induce a thought into my brain. And then mind control does not work, and then there's no chance for them to turn us into biorobots. And then mind control does not work, and then there's no chance for them to turn us into biorobots.
So that when that person goes to speak out about it, when they go to seek help from their fellow human beings, they will conclude that this person must be crazy. And as a result, they will recommend psychological evaluation for that person. You can see the way this is going to go, and the way it is going right now. As good people, helpless people that are being abused and tortured and enslaved and experimented upon in America today, American citizens cry out for help from their fellow Americans, and their fellow Americans say, why don't you take some Prozac because we think you're schizophrenic? When this is a highly technical program, all of the symptoms are induced by a technology that is so fucking sophisticated, it is horrifying beyond description.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day.